you get it for a gift of any amount. So text the word share to 800-600-9624.
We'd love to celebrate 100% at the end of the week.
Yeah,
so
that
we
would
need
be
your
awesome.
help.
Brian will get me some.
Nothing.
Wow,
Nothing.
Brian.
I'm too cheap for that. You got to talk to
You
my
are
wife.
mad cheap. Angie's here. Woohoo! Angie, she said, good morning, family.
What's happening?
And Sheila, and look, Sheila is celebrating with us. Hi, Janet. You are so awesome. I've loved your thoughts and so glad you're a part of the family. And thank you for sharing your heart. She was like, I'm hashtag Team Brian, but she loves Janelle.
She said that because she had to.
She had to?
Yeah, it's kind of an obligation.
Beverly, woo! Thank you. As we talk, click share the stream, the conversation, and then make sure to subscribe to YouTube, please. And we're continuing a conversation we started on air, Brian.
Yeah, a lot of people wanted to weigh in on this, Janelle, and
Yeah.
I know you've got some thoughts from an article we found, but the article itself, the concept of it, the thesis, got our minds going.
Yeah.
As you know, you've heard it a million times, that each days, blah, blah, blah. It feels like we've packed in a century's worth of events into just a few months in 2020. If Marty McFly was going to travel forward in time, he'd clearly avoid 2020.
Hello, yeah.
So this particular writer, Jeff Christopherson.
Hi, Roseanne.
Hey, Roseanne.
Okay.
Said 8 things the world needs from evangelicals right now. And so we started asking this question. A lot of answers came in. What does the world need right now? Right now. From followers of Jesus. They said evangelicals, but I'd rather call it just from followers of Jesus. What does the world need right
That's a loaded
now?
question too, isn't it? Yeah. In my first reaction, I shared on air, and maybe somebody's thinking, it's like, they don't need 8 things, they need 1. The world needs 1 thing, and that's the gospel from evangelicals or any believer. What do you say to that?
I say it depends on what you mean. Because you have to bear with me. Don't turn this off till I'm finished. I said this on the air too.
Yeah.
There's a part of me when someone says that, well, Brian and Janelle, what the world needs is the gospel. That I kind of roll my eyes a little bit. Here's what I mean. The world does need the gospel of Jesus Christ, no question about it. But when someone says that, it feels like an awkward platitude, like a cliche, like almost a meaningless phrase designed to end a discussion. A phrase that lacks depth and even lacks biblical accuracy, because Jesus in the Great Commission didn't say, and now go and transactionally state what it means to be saved to people who don't know it, whether they want to hear it or not. No, it says go make disciples.
And disciples, if you look at scripture and how it happened, it was very much relationship. You cannot have, like, it can't be, hey, what's up? The Bible says boom, and then you walk. You know, which, sorry about this, but in the 1900s, missions have made, like, missions, how we go and just, like, share the gospel and come back, have made it a thing like that.
We kind of bludgeon people with it.
Yeah, and it's about where you live, in your neighborhood, the people you work with. It's about walking with them as you share the truth of Scripture.
And Jesus modeled that.
Yeah.
By investing in 12 people heavily.
Yeah.
He could have just had a ministry where he kept
a crowd,
spewing the truth to people about who he is and what they need to do. But he instead primarily invested in 12 men. And so, and a small group of women. So, yes, it's the gospel, but it's more than that. In fact, if you look at the totality of the scriptures, so much of it is, it's not just that you believe, it's what you do when you believe and how you act when you believe. And so, yes, the world needs the gospel, but let's take that and set it over here and go, knowing that's true, what does the world need right now from Christians? Okay,
some people are coming in with answers. Like Angie, oh, you're so awesome. She says a big hug. You sound like you need to meet me in person because I love giving hugs.
That's what she loves to do, yeah.
Callie says, have missed watching you guys. I've been watching up on my sleep.
Catching up
oh
there.
My gosh, I got an announcement to make. And I thought of Callie. Callie, I was talking about you with my sister. So can I make an announcement later? Or should I make
It's your show. Do what you want. She pretends in front of you like she's not in charge of everything.
I don't want to change the conversation. So, like, I'll do it later. But, Callie, you're one of them. I have a challenge for people, and you're one of them. Martha, she says, bingo, Brian. That was deep. Yes. Theola, I've missed you. You haven't been here in a few days.
Well, she hasn't commented. I bet Theola's been here.
Oh, I love when you comment. Good morning, Theola. Jennifer, my girl, says she's super deep. Like, she's so deep that I had a list of things that we're not teaching well in terms of history to our kids. She's a homeschooler, and she's like, I've done all this. How can I help others do it? So deep. I love you, Jennifer. She says, what the world of people shouting needs is quiet love, showing and living the gospel, not more words. And then she says, yes, is all about relationships. Martha shared the stream. Thank you, Martha. Monique, what's up, girl? And she said, Janelle and Brian. That's right, because you're hashtag Team Janelle.
No,
that's
she's
right.
just chivalrous. She's
That's
just putting you
right.
first.
And Martha, she's like, yes, Janelle. Hello, Carol. Nathaniel says, good morning, Janelle and Brian. We have to live out the gospel instead of just telling people about the gospel.
Yeah, and that's far too often what we think as Christians is our primary obligation, is just to say the gospel. When it truly is, our works don't save us, but we're commanded to go and do, not just believe.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, belief is all you need to be saved. Let me be clear. It's just faith. Faith alone saves you.
Yes.
But we're called to works.
Sharon, good morning. Angie says, when I hear that question in my head, all I hear is that song, All We Need Is Love. Somebody else mentioned it. What song is that?
It was a song written by Burt Bacharach.
Wow, you're good.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing
that's the one.
that the world
All We Need Is Love. That's the title.
Too little love.
Aretha, awesome name. She says, good morning. Some other people texted in during the show.
Aretha says what the world needs is RESPECT.
What?
Oh, wait, no, not that,
no.
Aretha. Oh.
I was like, what? Oh, man, good. What is it? Welcome, Kinsey. You just like the Brian and Janelle page. Welcome to the Facebook family. Carol says kindness. I also agree that we need to stop judging people. Love and pray for people. Christians need to live in faith, not fear. Hope, what's up, girl? She says, I agree with Angie, love, but the love of God. God's love transformed my life. You can never encounter the love of God and remain the same unchanged. I love all of these. And in the article that we read, it reminded me of one of my favorite books that I'm still in the middle of, because I'm like reading a whole bunch of books at the same time, depending on my mood. And this one is Stages of the Soul by Nancy Kane. And she talks about the different stages of your growth in your walk with the Lord. You can be in a stage for years, like you could be in stage 2 and die in stage 2, because she was like, growth doesn't automatically happen, etc. But my point is, in the book in the beginning, she talked about spiritual growth in a believer, almost as like through the Beatitudes, where the way I've read the Beatitudes is like you have one. Like some people are like mourners,
like
some people are meekness. Yeah. And she was like, no, this is a believer. And this is like you transition as you grow. Isn't that deep?
Oh, yeah. There was actually just an article in USA Today from Scott Jatani, who co-hosts the Holy Post podcast with Phil Vischer.
Oh, okay.
Where he said that he was speaking to a group of Christians at one point about the Beatitudes. And the general consensus from them was, oh, well, that's just like an ideal no one can reach. And like, no, nobody can do that. Like, they somehow felt like they had a pass from living out the Beatitudes.
Yeah.
And I don't think we get a pass.
No,
I think the world needs Beatitude Christians.
Yes, all of them. And you got to get that book, Stages of the Soul. But as we look through the 8 things the world needs, each one exemplifies at least one of them. And the way you walk it out, it's very much sanctification. So you may not do it perfectly, but
you'll slowly get better at it.
Yeah, you can get better. And so I love that. This first, the article was talking about when it starts out, how the world has lost its taste for Christianity. You and I have talked about this before, how millennials are very, not disappointed, but they've lost their taste. They're walking away from the faith, walking away from the church. Churches are losing numbers throughout the last decade. And so he was saying it's not even because of the gospel. We could cheer if it was because, oh my gosh, they're all about the gospel. Because it's like, oh, we'll be persecuted. It's not that. It's where we stand on political issues and culture issues and where we draw lines. And he's like, that's not even what we're about, you know?
Yeah.
And so he said, okay, so what should we do about it? And what should our response be? The first one was cultural humility. And just the word culture in regards of what a Christian should do kind of stood out. I'm like, what? Cultural humility? But he talked about having a humble heart. Christ followers having a humble heart and putting to death our self-righteousness. He brought up one of the first Beatitudes, I think it's like the first or second, poor in spirit. And how when you're poor in spirit, Nancy King breaks this down in an amazing way. You realize your desperate need for God and how messed up you are. And he was like, when you grow in that beatitude, you approach conversations differently. You mentioned that today. And he didn't even read the article. I was like, look at him doing number one. He doesn't even realize. But I love that it was a beatitude. I'm like, wow, that's who we should be. What is that, like the poor in spirit beatitude? Have you thought of it in that context?
I haven't thought of it in that context, but I see what you mean. It's I get irritated when some Christian goes, I see your sin, and I get mad at you because you're a big fat idiot for sinning like that. When the reality is, the knowledge of sin and what Christ did for us ought to create this holy humility.
Yeah.
Of like, I can't believe he died for me.
Yeah.
And look at that sinner over there. They don't know that Jesus died
Yes.
for them. As opposed to, what's wrong with you, you big idiot?
Yeah. And when you said that on air, it made me think, not only do you realize your own need for Jesus and the need to share it with others, but in the article he said, you also now are listening with more humility because you realize you're just like me. I'm not, we come with a righteous, like I'm better than you.
Yeah.
We may not say that to ourselves, but that's how.
That's the attitude.
Yeah. And that's our stance to the world. That was the first,
By the way,
the first thing. What?
Side note from, keep going, go down.
Oh, up?
No. Somebody added another. Keep going. Suzanne.
Yeah.
Suzanne's right. Also, what the world needs now, according to the Beatles, is all you need is love. Love is all you need.
Really?
All you need is love. Love. You've heard that, haven't you? Please tell me you've heard that.
Probably. Keep going?
Probably, she said. No,
keep going, keep going.
No.
Keep going. What else do you need to hear?
Can
All you
somebody
need is
sing
love,
it?
Love is all you need.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that. I just didn't know it was the Beatles.
Do we believe, Janelle?
It's so sad because my son is like playing the Beatles. There's a song he really loves. And I'm like, oh, cool, that's awesome. What song? Like, when did that song come out? He's like, Ma, that's the Beatles. Oh my God.
What song is it? Do you know?
Something about a bird. No? It sounds so good. Blackbird, bluebird.
From the
That's
Beatles?
so messed up. Guys, I'm Hispanic. I grew up listening to Tito Puentes.
Did they do a song about a bird?
Beatles, birds.
I think
song.
it might be a lyric.
Beatles
with a
bird song.
I think it's that.
Free as a bird?
Blackbird,
I guess
Blackbird.
Blackbird.
I knew it. I think it's Blackbird. Yeah, it
didn't know
sounds
that I know
really
that
good.
song.
And
No,
on
I
his,
didn't work
he
with
does
that.
he does both acoustic and electric.
Okay.
Monique says, I like that, Janelle. Isn't that nice? Like when I read the poor in spirit and how that should look in my life and how I approach God and how I approach people, I saw that beatitude completely different. Being poor in spirit, it feeds. It almost feeds the humility, because you're constantly reminding yourself, oh my gosh, I need the Lord. You know.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me how little attention I paid for most of my life to the Beatitudes. It was almost like, this annoying, like, nice sermon Jesus gave.
Yeah.
I'd like some more practical teaching, when in reality it doesn't get more clear than that.
I thought it was
I
like
just don't
a
like it.
speech he did.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, this is foundational for who you are as a Christian. It almost like, please get the book again. It almost showed me this is what sanctification looks like. Where before, sanctification just looked like, I just get better and I read the Bible and follow, and try to look more like Jesus. Jennifer says, that book sounds good. Cool, Janelle. A big portion of my dissertation was on faith development of Christians.
Whoa.
Oh, you are going to love this book. There are several theorists that write about this topic. Oh my gosh, you would love this book.
Don't you wish that someday you could write the phrase, one
Thank
of
you.
the topics in my dissertation?
Yes. Yes. How many pages was that? Oh my goodness.
Oh wow! I wrote a master's thesis.
How long was that?
It's like 38 pages or like 40 pages or something.
What the heck? My longest paper, and I went to school for engineering, so this was my longest and my
You're doing
last.
math.
Yeah, so I'm smart. I just didn't do writing. 12 pages, and it was my research paper in junior year high school. So like in college, you know how you got to do the intro classes? It was like 5 pages. After 10, I'm like, and so when I went to college and my friend like Kimasha, and she took religion, they were writing like 20 something pages.
Yeah. I love writing to the point that I got made fun of in classes in college because it was be like an 8 to 10 page paper, and I would write like 10 to 15. And I went up once and I couldn't staple my paper. And this kid's like, look, you can't staple his paper. It's too thick. Nerd alert.
Wow. Sheila says, I think more people could get into acts of service or volunteering to help those around you. Serve in the area God had helped you. So many people want to be served but not serve.
Yeah, and it even makes me think of all the people I see who love Jesus, and I don't doubt they love him, who seem to be looking for an excuse not to care.
Yeah.
Like, the essence of their argument with someone who is saying, I'm hurting or I'm scared or whatever, is here's the really complicated reason why I don't care. And I don't have to care about you.
Ryan, oh my gosh, look at his second point. He said the second thing, and we're not going to go through all 8. This one's so deep, and it's exactly what you said. It's vicarious empathy. He said the world needs empathic evangelicals, like believers that grieve with those who grieve and those who are affected by injustice. But then what you said, he says, for centuries, we as evangelicals have been on the wrong side of history when it comes to racial justice. And once again, we find ourselves teetering there again. And then what you just said, we cannot seem to mourn with those who are afflicted. Instead, we find all kinds of ways to legitimize the positions of our hardened hearts as we dig into the histories of the victims to find some way to justify their abusers or other positions, like he said. We find ways to justify.
To not have to care.
Yes. And then he talked about, there's another beatitude, blessed are the mourners. And in Romans, that's the beatitude, blessed are those who mourn. But in Romans it says, mourn with those who mourn. And he said, you can't mourn with those who mourn without being empathic, without like putting yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
You know, and then he said, mourning requires empathy. Empathy requires selfless love, and selfless love requires us to be poor in spirit, which is what Nancy King did. They're all linked. She's like, once you have this one, it's not hard to mourn. And then the next one moves to the next. Oh, so deep.
So Phil Vischer was on our show, Bob the Tomato, and he did that like 17-minute video on race in America, and you get to the moral of the story at the end. And that's essentially what he said. I was waiting after all these statistics for him to give some sort of profound, so now here's what you do. And he was like, so what do we do, Christians? Care.
Wow.
He said, just care.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? That's the only point he made.
Yeah.
He said, we'll figure the rest out, but isn't step one just like care? And that's sort of what the attitude I think is implying.
Yeah.
What you just said.
Janice says, first, I did not have to say something nice about Janelle, Brian. I did because I love her. You make me laugh. I'm still looking for recruits for our team of 3. Did you see what she had said?
Yeah. Right now,
and
there's
she was
3 of
mad
us.
that you didn't say her name yesterday. So can you talk about your team, please?
My team is, there's 3 people in Team Brian, excluding any family members of mine, because they count, but it's like your mom loves you because she has to, you know?
Yeah.
We've got Janet, we've got Gary, and we've got David are on Team Brian.
Yeah, and they love Brian.
I mean, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken, people, so this is a powerhouse team of 3. Meanwhile, Janelle's team has about 6.7 million people.
Whatever. Oh my goodness. Izzy. Ooh, your name is awesome. Izzy Polanco says evangelicals need to stop being hypocrites, referencing the Bible when it's convenient only, or twisting the holy words to their own understanding to justify their biases.
Yeah.
They need to be an ally and show others what the love of Jesus is truly about. And I know that word hypocrite is strong, but I can do that. We do that.
I mean,
it's easy to look at somebody's sin. Like the ones we don't struggle with, we talked about. The ones you don't struggle with, you're like, oh man, that's messed up.
But see, that also points to I heard a Moody professor once, and well, I'm going to use words that sound political, but what he means by this is more ideological, okay? and theological. He said the biggest difference between liberal and conservative Christians are the verses they choose to ignore.
Oh.
I'll say it again. The
Wow.
biggest difference between liberal and conservative Christians are the verses they choose to ignore. Chew on that. And I think that's kind of what Izzy's getting at.
By the way, Jennifer Jones, who is a very much
Dr. Jones. Excuse me.
to you, hello, she's hashtag Team Janelle. And she said her dissertation is, with references, 215 pages. Do you want to hear a story?
What are you doing?
And she homeschools.
I don't even read books that long.
Oh my
What are you doing?
God, not writing that. Oh my goodness.
Dr. Jones.
The book that I've been referencing is Nancy Kane's book. She's a Moody Bible Institute professor. It's called Stages of the Soul. And it's actually a book you get for free when you register to our women's conference taking place September 12th. You get it free. And so I don't know why y'all ain't registered. I'm going to put the link to the conference on this stream and check out the book.
I wonder if Jennifer Jones, Dr. Jones, if her husband, if you're married, I'm assuming you are, if he ever plays the old song for you, Me and Mrs. Jones. It's a great old song. Me and Mrs.
Wow, you are not even doing nothing that she's doing. What? Right.
I mean, if my last name was Jones, I'd be playing that song for my wife all the time.
Oh,
I played
my
a couple of
goodness.
Sarah songs for my wife, so just in my
Betty says she is part of both teams, so stop it.
Betty, you only get credit for being in a team when you're in a team all by yourself. You can't have both. You can't do that.
Callie says, I'm in team both of y'all.
That's a whole different
both
category.
Of y'all.
So no, but wouldn't you agree? There's Team Janelle, Team Brian, and Team both.
Yeah, I like that.
Like you don't get to be
And
in the
team
club
both
with Janet.
is really watered down. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're all lukewarm.
Hello, Lauren, giving a shout out to the
Lauren.
women Nancy registration. Thank you, Lauren. I just posted the link. Go register, please. It's gonna be amazing.
And it's less than the cost of the book.
Less than the cost of the book, and you get to go to the webinar, Renew webinar this year, and then the big conference next year. This year, September 12th, it's going to be me and Crystal Evans-Hurst talking about something awesome. We'll talk about the topic later. Click on the link and register and get the book. The other thing, because we're about to wrap this up, we'll go back to some of the comments. I have an announcement. So, if you notice, something's missing on this table. What's missing?
It's hard to find anything missing over here. I don't know what you mean.
So, if you notice, like the tub of sugar isn't here anymore, right? So I am on my 5th day of quitting sugar, like everything, including pasta, bread, milk that has sugar, all of that. And I do eat fruits. And so if you go to
That's
my
sugar,
personal page, what?
Fruits are sugar.
No, but it's natural sugar and it has nutrients. Thank you. I looked it up. Thank you. You're not a nutritionist.
Whenever
So
she does that, it's my favorite. Thank you. Like she's just shut up.
I
What she
tell
said. Shut your
myself,
mouth.
I made a good point. Thank you. So go to my personal page, and I have a challenge, and then we can do it together if you want to. And I'll announce it here. My first challenge is to Callie if you want to do a 10-day sugar-free detax with me,
gosh.
and then you could stop at 10 days. And so we'll talk more.
I'm out.
We'll talk more on my page, but I'll post some other things. Kathy says, "Oh, give some examples."
What
are
I'm
we
sorry,
talking about?
Kathy. I don't remember what.
Oh, examples of what?
Why my team is better.
Wow.
No, Kathy. In all honesty, I don't remember what that would be. If you can jog my memory, I'd love to give you some examples.
Look at Jennifer. They entered their their wedding reception with that song.
Did you?
Wow.
Oh, yes. There's actually, Jennifer, just for you. I don't know if you're familiar with the old 70s band, 60s, 70s band, Tower of Power. They did an album called Great American Soul Book. And they do a version of Me and Mrs. Jones that is just off the charts. Like the chorus is Me and Mrs. Jones.
Oh.
See, I knew what I was talking about.
Ooh.
You don't even know. What?
Angie says she's in. Oh my gosh, you're awesome. Go to my page and we'll talk. I'm going to post something. Oh, that is too cool. I'm going to do this long term. But if you want to come and join other women, you could just stick to 10 days and then we'll talk after that. And we can encourage each other and all that. Just to give you a peek, I have so much energy, and I'm only on day 5, so we'll talk
Poor
more.
Len, you've already got energy.
A
with
lot
sugar.
of energy, I know.
And let me just say, if you are
Exactly.
fine with sugar, come hang out with me on my page. I'm not going to ask you to give up any sugar.
Oh my
We're just
goodness.
going to hang out.
Oh
okay?
my gosh, whatever.
Wow.
Martha has a good question that we can chew on and think about. She says, what I hear is all we need is love, but what does that look like? Because that what is being used to make people feel guilty, because I don't look or feel like love to that person. Like, are you so slacky? Ooh, I don't know. Like, it's not in the Bible. Talk about Christians. Do you get the question? I don't know.
Yeah, like, what does it actually look like? Because, there's that philosophical question, like, what is love, right? And I think the scriptures give us lots of clear answers on that. Those who don't know love don't know God, because God is love, which just feels like a cliche of sorts as well. But it's in the greatest commandment, love God and love your neighbor.
Yeah.
What is love your neighbor? Like, because somebody asked Jesus as a follow-up to that, well, who's my neighbor? And the person asked that is almost like, give me a list of who I have to love, because there's people I don't want to. And Jesus gave some extreme examples of, like, everyone. Romans 12 gives some really practical tips when you read it of what it truly means to be transformed by Christ and show radical love. Pray for love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Don't just pretend to love people, really love them. It's being quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. It's about being humble. It's about truly exemplifying the Beatitudes.
Yeah.
It's not this abstract mushy-gushy thing. It truly is digging into what did Jesus teach on how we're to live. And that is what exemplifies love, is that the totality of those instructions.
I love that. Please continue the conversation. Roseanne says, good for you, Janelle. Sugar is so addictive, and it's in everything. Yes, it is in everything, but I am not hungry. And so I'm going to share resources that I've been taking advantage of, and then we can learn together. So go to Janelle Neville's, and we'll hook up later in the day. Angie, hey, and thank you, Betty, Angie, Kathy,
Giselle is here.
Giselle.
Janelle's sister's on my team, Team Brian.
No, Team Janelle. Woo!
She's sick of being on your team. You're always acting like you're in charge of her family. Wow.
You trying to recruit?
She's grown. Giselle is grown.
wow.
You're not in charge of her?
Oh, my goodness.
Giselle, come on over to Team Brian. I'm not in charge of you.
Giselle,
We got a democracy on my team.
Oh, my goodness.
She's over there in some
annoying.
oldest child dictatorship.
Giselle, put the hashtag Team Janelle. We'll wait for you. No, we don't gotta wait. I'm just.
She's gonna be mad at you.
Oh my goodness.
Those people giving up sugar.
Yo,
Knock
she
it
is.
off.
We're gonna be awesome, ladies. Giselle's at home with 12 kids, dude. 12